India now seems to be getting on the stick.
Right.
There's a different set of rules in India. There is a rule of law in India. And I know you believe in the rule of law. I'm curious, what is the role of government in those societies? What would you think is the role of government? What should be the ideal role of government in these countries as they're making this transition?
I'm not sure whether you're asking the question, what is the role of government they ought to aim at, or what is the role of government during the transition?
Well, let's start with what they would aim at, but how do they get there?
There's no formula for how to get there, I am afraid. But I have no doubt what they should aim at. And exactly the same thing that we should aim at. I think the appropriate role of government is not very different anywhere around the world. The first role of government is to defend the nation against foreign threats. So every government has to aim at, has to have a defense. They should aim, the second role of government is to protect private individuals from coercion and from violence.
So there's a law
enforcement role. Well, the third role of government is to set the rules. For example, if a plane flies over your house, is he violating your property rights? Well, if he flies at 10 feet over your house, at 1,000 feet over your house, at 10 miles over your house, 100 miles over your house, clearly there is no obvious breaking point. And one of the important roles of government is to set the rules for cases like that, to specify what are property rights. Another function of government, or the same function of government, is to protect those property rights, to protect transactions between individuals that are made in good faith. And that's about the end of it.
So the methods of transitions differ, but while these transitions are taking place and these new cooperators are in the system, there are some other governments that we are used to as Western societies that are coming under enormous pressure to change. We just have witnessed an election in Germany, for example, and I'm curious as to your views as to how some of these less flexible societies, if that's what they are, now adapt to the competitive pressure that's coming from this liberalization of Chinese economic activity.
Well, in a way, New Zealand that we were talking about earlier,
yes,
it gives you a very good example. Here you had a conservative party in New Zealand that tied it all up, imposed price controls, imposed exchange control, and imposed wage controls, had a highly regulated, really one of the most regulated welfare states. And a new government came in, a labor government as it happened, which completely reversed all of those. It set the exchange rate free, it established the new bank arrangements, it eliminated wage and price control, it even eliminated a large part of government management and ownership of the schools. And it did that entirely in democratic process, not with any force. That's the example that you'd like to see repeated. Here is Germany. It's in a very difficult situation because by this time, probably close to half of the public, if not more than half, depends in large part on payments from the government. And they obviously don't want those changed.
Nobody wants to give something up.
And yet, somehow or other, everybody has to give something up if they're going to have a better country. Here's Germany. Its people are hard workers. They've demonstrated in the past that they are highly productive people. They are a model from that point of view. And they started after World War II in what looked like a very good direction. But then they got driven off the right path by problems that arose with unification of East and West Germany. I believe their current difficulties derive from three factors. First, when they went into the euro, I believe they went in at an exchange rate that overvalued the mark. Second, going back earlier, when they unified, they made a major mistake of equating the East German and the West German mark on a one-to-one basis, which grossly overvalued East German wages, East German costs. And third, they have adopted a great, an unreal amount of regulation and restrictions. And the only way they can straighten out things is to eliminate some of those problems. I don't see much chance of their doing so soon. So the prospect does not look very good. But it turns out that those are the circumstances which sooner or later give rise to a real movement for change. But I don't have a magic formula about how to break up that kind of a situation. And that The situation in different countries is different. That's Germany. It's altogether different from the situation, let's say, of India. India is a country which has, from the political point of view, it is a democracy, and it has a legal system and a rule of law. But it has been a country of castes and of high restrictions, of government controls. It's been a socialist country. Indians who move out of India and go anywhere in the world do very well, whether they're in Silicon Valley or whether they're in Africa. But within India, in the past, they've been hamstrung because of a socialist government. And now that's changing, breaking up. And India is moving very rapidly. But we must remember that both India and China are still very poor countries. And as such, they have lots of room to grow. And in the process, both of them are going to increase the extent of both civil freedom and political freedom.
So this process of becoming free to choose works its magic, not just on the economy, but also on the politics.
I think that's right.